accidentally taking an original selfie wearing shutter shades.
I like that. Which way is the...
I have no idea. I think someone's taking a photo behind me. I think that's me taking a picture of my friend Emily taking a picture of herself.
It's the most twisted picture I've ever seen. Incredibly twisted picture. You should put that in a museum. You should get that framed and send that to a museum, because that was the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life. Giovanna just showed me this photo off her Facebook page. From what year is this? Got her again! Got her again! What year is this from? 2009.
Yeah.
That is literally 7 dimensions. There are too many dimensions to this picture. It's someone taking a photo of themselves while she takes a photo of them taking a photo of themselves. You can see it all happening in a mirror, a screen, this camera, and then there's also a nice room in the background. But man, what a photo. Anyway, welcome back to Oh, and Another Thing. It's your favorite news and politics podcast, back for another week, another bizarro week here in the United States of America, as Bert would call it. Bert speaks with a funny way. He's an interesting fella. Anyway, interesting week here. We've had impeachment part 2, revenge of the... No, can't say anything. Got nothing on that one. Sorry, everybody. And part 2, twice baked.
Now with more impeachment.
Now with more impeachment.
With more impeachments.
Now with more evidence. Now with videos. Now with very jarring audio recordings. With bonus features. The director's cuts, honestly, if you will.
Cut, yeah,
The impeachment director's cuts, if you will. Man, but what a week it's been. We've had good news. We've had bad news. We've had a lot of fun. Can't say we haven't had fun this week, huh? Anyway, if you're tuning in today for what might be your first time, maybe your second time, maybe you haven't subscribed yet, what you ought to do is go find the subscribe button on whatever platform you're tuning in on. I know I'm on multiple platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, I don't know, probably some other places too. Podbean, shout out to the host. I think I owe Podbean money here in a couple of weeks for the hosting fees. Anyway, shout out to Podbean. So yeah, did I plug Twitters? Follow me on Twitter, @FitnessPatron. Bert Beans, he's on there. Giovanna is here. Giovanna, our fact checker, is here. Bert, our producer, is here. Your host, Vince Patron. Okay, let's dive on in. So as we prefaced already, it is Impeachment Week 2021. We are in the portion of the week where we've had... So it's Friday. Okay, portion of the week. Listen to me speaking like an idiot. So here we are on Friday, the 12th. Impeachment started on Monday, technically, because they held a vote on Monday for the constitutionality of the impeachment case. If I'm not mistaken, that was Monday. Right, Bert? Was that Monday? Feels like it.
Was that Monday?
When they had the vote on the constitutionality of the impeachment. Whenever they voted to have it. Was that Tuesday?
It was Tuesday. That's why I was all confused, because I thought Tuesday was like the first... Well, I thought they were supposed to start making cases on Monday, but I think they made the case for whether or not it was constitutional on Monday, and then they voted on Tuesday. And
Tuesday, wasn't it?
Exactly. Because then Wednesday, Thursday, they made their arguments for the, what do you call it, the Democrat side. What do you call that? Not defense. What's the
prosecution technically, but I think in this case they're the House. I think you call it the House side in this.
So the Wednesday, Thursday was the House, and now today, our one day, is the defense.
The defense, which is interesting because they were supposed to take 2 days, and I didn't know this. We were watching.
They have 2 days.
They have 2 days.
Nobody
they get
has
16 hours, and they don't need to take the full.
The House did.
The House did. And they, I mean, if they think they have a good case, they really oughta.
Yeah. Ought to take the full amount of time.
But no, I think that maybe that speaks to, because you figure they probably planned to, right? They didn't probably come into impeachment.
Well, they did, because
defense
that's
saying, no, we're only gonna do 4 hours of defense to a 16-hour case.
They kind of did lay it down like that from the beginning. Like, while the House was still making their argument, the defense was saying, like, yeah, we're probably not going to use the full amount of time. Nobody knew it was only going to be one day, but they did kind of allude to at the beginning that they didn't have 2 days worth of arguments. So, I mean.
I'll just be, because today is the day, and today's a really jam-packed day for us here at the Owen and Other Things studio. So we have Pod in the morning, Giovanna editing her video to go up on her YouTube channel. I guess you can just search her One Name Like a Soccer Player now, right? She's One Name Like a Soccer Player on YouTube. Yeah. Just search Giovanna. That'll get them there?
Yeah, that's Giovanna.
And that'll get them there. Well, so if you search Giovanna right now.
Let me see. I have to do an incognito tab because or else it'll use cookies. Search it on YouTube or just on the internet?
I don't know.
I'll search it on YouTube.
I'm interested how this works.
Okay. Well, apparently there's a very popular gamer named Giovanna, but if you search Giovanna Makeup, then I'm there.
If you search Giovanna Makeup, we'll take that other one down.
It'll also take you to a really cute video of Snooki's daughter, Giovanna, doing her makeup, because you guys know Snooki from Jersey Shore. She named her daughter Giovanna.
How fun. Isn't
that sweet?
That is fun. You have a lot in common. Yeah. You have a lot in common. Very fun.
See, Giovanna does my makeup. Does not me.
Oh, very fun.
Maybe one day she can do another video called Giovanna Does My Makeup Part 2.
But it's you.
But it's me.
And there's no sentimental value to it.
Is this supposed to be your daughter? Isn't she like 4?
I was like, what is this? Too funny. Toot funny. Anyway, so impeachment, we have had the openings. Well, yeah, the openings where the House walked us through what they were going to do. They said they were going to lay out a case that showed the president encouraging, having a role in the planning of, helping spread the word of, orchestrating and at times even commanding the riotous mob on January 6th. They said they were going to do it. This is in their outline on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it was, but on the openings day. They said they were going to bring us new evidence, show us things, have us listen to things we hadn't heard before, and that the case would essentially prove itself. They promised not to get too into constitutional law and theory, and I think that was very appropriate, though. Yesterday, Jamie Raskin talked a lot about Thomas Paine, and I thought that was very interesting. I don't know much about Thomas Paine, I will be honest, but he wrote Common Sense, and that's what he was talking about, how we have to have common sense. And that's really the extent of my Thomas Paine knowledge.
Honestly,
except that I didn't know.
Smart though, because Republicans love constitutional stuff like that.
Yeah. And there were a couple times where he quoted like Scalia yesterday in his closing, but that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Which is interesting that he did that, but we can talk about that a little bit later on, because there's a lot of there's a dimension to all of this that we'll talk about later on in the pod that makes it. It's already going to be very jarring to watch Republicans attempt to acquit the president, or former President Trump, on sedition charges. It's going to be quite jarring to see happen. I still feel like it's pretty likely to happen, despite how good a job the House did. But who knows? We shall see. What lies ahead? I don't want to get too far ahead of everything here, but we'll talk about that added dimension that makes it extra hard for Republicans to do what they're probably going to do, and extra disgusting for them to do what they're going to do. First, day one. So, House presents their case, outlines their case. Straightforward. Pretty comes and goes. Some stirring. Jamie Raskin made a really good speech about his life around the day of January 6th. He talked about burying his son, coming back the next day, and then having this happen, and what it felt like then to speak with his daughters and his family and all that. It was very stirring, very emotional, pretty wild to hear someone speak about an event that had them literally feet from their own executions at moments. Like, very, I don't know, it was just something obviously there's more emotion to this impeachment case than to the last impeachment case, because this impeachment case, it was an attack on our democracy directly. It was a terrorist attack against our democracy, against our country, against our nation's capital, literally against our nation's capital. Hop on in.
A point I thought it was really good that they made too is they kept talking about how this was watching the insurrection on TV was almost like watching a dress rehearsal for foreign adversaries to see how easy it would be.
Yeah, they've been saying that.
I think that was smart of them to put it in perspective that way, to not just be like, oh, these weren't just some like dumb kids that got together and did this. Like if they were able to do it so easily, it makes it look easier for other countries to do it. So I thought that was smart of them to target.
Right.
But they also focused on different Republican senators who they showed video clips. The security footage was really incredible. They showed Mitt Romney. They showed Eugene Goodman tell him to turn around.
Yeah.
And like literally a minute later, the mob came that way. And who else did they show?
We'll get to
Oh, sorry.
We'll get to that.
Getting ahead of myself here.
As she tends to do. Let her on. She decides to run away with it. I'm just kidding. So then, Raskin does a great job. Gets the room pretty emotional. I didn't get to watch it live. I had to watch the replays because I had to freaking work. And busy day, honestly, at the office that day, I say, as I speak of the lanes. But we had a pretty busy day, so I didn't get to keep up too much with it. So I caught all the clips later on, and yeah, it was pretty emotional watching. I ain't cry or nothing watching Jamie Raskin talk. I ain't got to cry or nothing, but it was still, you can see there was some emotion to it. There was some fuel behind his words. And then they went over into Bruce Castor's portion of things, Trump's defense, and he laid out what their defense will be, and it is that, essentially, that as an American, Trump has the right as an American to use his First Amendment rights as an American to do everything he can, say everything he can, to rile up a mob, to launch a civil war against the American government that gives him the right to use his First Amendment rights to do this very process. And that is going to be their argument. And it will be such a stretch. It is such a far, far stretch from the truth. And I will be honest, I haven't studied an ounce professionally of constitutional law. I've read a couple of books about the Constitution, about different ways to interpret the Constitution, different ways we can make it work better for people. But I'm no constitutional scholar by any means necessary. But I'm pretty sure, we've all heard the example of yelling fire in a movie theater. You can't yell fire in a movie theater and claim First Amendment rights while starting a riot in a movie theater. That's not much more different than yelling, hey, they're stealing the election from you. Go to the Capitol, to the people outside the Capitol. I know it's a little different, but at the same time, it's not. So, what's going to be interesting today, now on to closing day for Trump's defense. It'll start here in 12 minutes, allegedly.
Both their opening and closing day. For their chance to, try to say Trump didn't mean it, try to say, he didn't have anything to do with it. It's going to be a lot of work because what the House did over the course of their 2 days was pretty absolutely stunning. Pretty wild to watch and keep up with. And just relive the way they walked us all through. Oh, there's Elizabeth Warren on MSNBC. You see Liz Warren coming in. She's yelling on the phone to somebody. You can see she's yelling on the phone. She's through her mask. She waves to the guard. She's waving. She's like exactly like my mother. It's insane.
I wouldn't say exactly like your mother,
she looks
but
a lot like
definitely.
She's like alternate universe version of my mother.
Yeah.
My mom got really passionate about politics all of a sudden.
Yeah. That was Liz Warren coming in anyway. We're watching MSNBC. That's how I knew it was 12 minutes away. So over the course of the House's 2 days, they played us, new security footage. We saw what it looked like from inside the Senate, from inside the Capitol building. There were a few particularly, I thought, gripping clips. One was with the insurrectionists out front, where they were bashing in the window with the flagpole, when they were taking like the battering ram or the flagpole, whatever they were using at that portion of the assault to break in. Watching that happen from behind the glass, so to speak, was very jarring. Showed the true violence that was embedded in this crowd, the true passion to do harm that was embedded in this crowd, and their true motives, I think, came through in that, because you don't bust down a window, you don't force your way into somewhere unless you have intentions. Otherwise, they would have just hung out outside, And that wasn't an argument anybody made, but I think that's a fair argument. But they could have, done less if they meant to do less. But they did the most, and a lot of the security footage shows that these rioters, these insurrectionists, did the most because they meant to do the most harm to the people inside that building, and it was aimed to be a mass execution event. That's what it was rallied for. That's what the goal of it was for a lot of the people there. And so over the course of day one, the House side showed these video clips and played audio clips. So what are some of the other good video clips? There was the clip of Pence dodging down a hallway, and what I thought was very effective was they had a diagram up on the screen that members, the so-called jurors, the senators, could see, that showed just how close the rioters, the insurrectionists, were to them at the given time of the security footage, and how close they were coming to people. So there was even a time when they were showing,
Schumer was a good example.
Schumer was a good example too. Schumer running down the runway, then having to literally sprint back.
They showed the security guards literally having to use their bodies to stand in front of the doors.
And then, of course, the Romney sprint, which I have to give it up to Mitt Romney. Can you get me Mitt Romney's age? Can I get an age on Mitt Romney?
You want to take a guess? I bet he's 70.
I want to guess 76. Wow, 73. How about that?
That would be a draw.
That would be a draw. How about that? Anyway, so 73-year-old Mitt Romney can freaking move. I got to tell you guys, so there's that footage of Mitt in the hallway, walking literally toward the insurrectionists, which is also one of the most Mitt Romney things I could think. If there's one person I could imagine in the Senate just like casually by accident walking into a mob of insurrectionists, it would be Mitt Romney. Sorry to this Mitt Romney. But that is the truth of it. That's our pork store. Shout out to the pork store in Astoria bringing us our lunch. All right. We're having Italian sandwiches and fries. Very exciting day. We have a big day here at Own Everything Studio. Not only are we recapping impeachment for you guys, but it's also obviously Italian Hoagie Day, but it's also Vaccination Day 2021. Your boy Vince is getting his first dose, baby. Gonna have Moderna coursing through these dang veins. If you see me glowing over Brooklyn tonight, it's not because the vaccine is having negative effects inside me. It's because the hope coursing through my veins along with the Moderna vaccine is propelling me to great heights and strength. Anyway, so we got the House footage. And then what I thought was really most jarring, and is the dimension I was alluding to earlier, that's going to make this really hard for Republicans to kind of defend, was the body cam footage of the one officer getting literally dragged down the stairs and literally beaten with a flagpole also. But the audio recordings, the recordings between the officers and their command center, walking us through the day as the situation devolved, I guess you could, so to speak. Because those are the very people that, let's not pretend, the Republican Party rushed to during the summer times. And because we saw it, I did, but I'm back at it now. Because we did see that Republicans, and you can hear us opening our lunch now. We make a hell of a podcast over here, don't we? Really run a hell of a show. Okay, so lunch is here. But during the summer, we saw Republicans rush to the policemen to say, hey, no, man, while these Democrats are trying to pull you guys down the stairs, and Antifa is bludgeoning you in the streets, the Democratic-led Antifa, funded by George Soros and the other Hollywood elites, D-elites, I should say. It's fun talking like an unhinged person. It's a good bit to do anyway. Those very people who are talking about how, again, Democrats were funding a terrorist organization to go out and hunt police officers are now rushing to the defense of a mob of people who organized online to force their way into the Capitol, and in doing so beat the shit and nearly kill. Well, no, they did kill. They killed a couple of police officers. They killed police officers. They killed 5 people. Something that keeps getting lost in this. Yeah. Something keeps getting lost in this is that 5 people died in this. And in fact, we had the Washington Post just had a news alert out. I didn't get a chance to read the story because we started recording here. But 2 Capitol police officers who were there that day killed themselves. The carnage keeps mounting from this event. Things keep getting worse and worse from January 6th, and as we learn more, things get worse and worse. There's a headline today out, and one of the things that the impeachment manager sought to prove is proving itself in real time with good journalism and good reporting. There's mounting evidence, says from the Washington Post, this is their wording, mounting evidence indicating that Trump may have been personally informed that Vice President Mike Pence was in physical danger during the Capitol siege, just moments before denigrating him on Twitter. Oh, man, I wish I had that tweet in front of me, because you guys know the tweet I'm talking about.
Which tweet? The one they read aloud?
The one they read aloud on the speaker. Because then there was, they showed us all this footage in day one, the House managers. They got us all riled up. They got us reliving the moments. They played the audio footage for us, but they didn't work too hard to connect Trump to it until day 2. Until Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. It's been a blur. Everything's a blur anymore. But then on their second day, on their second 16 hours or 18 hours, their second 8 hours of presentations, they worked to attach Trump to it. Show that Trump not only had a hand in getting the event organized, picking the date of the event. What is lost in this, and that I didn't know, was that Trump was the one who made Jan 6th the day. The event that was supposed to be happening, the Women for Trump event that this was organized under, had originally been scheduled for the week after, I believe they were saying, the inauguration. It wasn't even supposed to happen until after Joe Biden was inaugurated. But then Trump tweeted about January 6th and started getting people talking online about coming to D.C. January 6th. And then that group changed the date of their event to January 6th. And then the wheels were in motion. And I was not aware of that. That's pretty freaking wild. That's as direct a link as you can make, almost. Almost as direct a link as the... Are you looking for the tweet?
I am, yes. Which one do you want? There's a bunch of them.
Can I get them all? No, I don't want to stay the screen for too long. Let me see.
One on January 6th. I think this is the one they read out loud, I think.
Yeah, this is the one. So then they started showing... Okay, so they started talking about Trump, up until, they're stealing the election from us. These people aren't doing enough. The DOJ has failed you. The FBI has failed you. Everybody has failed you. Come to D.C., the build up to it. Then it got to Insurrection Day. And they showed this clip. And it's insane just how they just follow the guy. how they were hanging on every word of what Trump said that day. They went to hear him speak at the Stop the Steal event. That's why these people were in town. They knew he was going to be at the Stop the Steal event. That's why they were there. They went to hear him speak. So, of course, they were watching his Twitter afterward. So, yeah, no, I can do it. I got that reach. I don't know, you Macintoshes. Anyway, so then they showed this footage of the mob literally on the steps of the Capitol, and this guy with a megaphone reading this Trump tweet aloud. This is from Donald Trump's Twitter at the last.
They tweeted it at 2:30 p.m. They had already been there.
They'd already been there. This is at 2:24 to be approximate. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution. This is me also trying to do it as if I'm reading it through a megaphone. How am I doing?
I think you should just read it regularly. I don't think you should read it like an insurrectionist.
Okay. Giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands the truth. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution. That tweet was sent after he had been told that Mike Pence was in direct danger that day, that they had to rush Mike Pence out of the room, that Mike Pence was a target, that they had a noose out front. He knew all of this. And he still was trying to rile up the mob. There was direct links made throughout the second day that point to Trump's direct involvement, the use of his words, to get people riled up, to get them there, and to get them to act, and to get them to act violently. He knew these were people that would, so he worked for them to be. And that is how you end up with January 6th and the tie to Trump himself. And I thought there was one really good argument made, and we'll close things up on it here, or at least on the impeachment side of things. It's gonna be so wild to watch after seeing the body cam footage of those police officers getting dragged downstairs, and what the officers who tried at the Capitol, because we also have to say that there were officers who we know were posing with these people and taking photos with these insurrectionists and showing near outward support with them. There were people there doing their jobs or trying to that day. And those people deserve a great deal of credit for what they did to literally keep our democracy afloat, to keep our government. Those rioters, those insurrectionists, were literally moments away from being able to seize control of our government. Have show trials, if you think back to what happened in Michigan, or what was supposed to happen in Michigan, or planned to happen in Michigan to Governor Gretchen Whitmer back in November, whenever they found out that there were alt-right groups planning to kidnap her, have a trial for her, and then execute her. That was the plan for a lot of these people going into that building. And we know that was the plan for a lot of people going into that building because they've said so themselves. They chanted it in the hallways. Motive is clear. Everything is clear to what it is. But what will be made entirely more clear, I reckon, by the end of all this is that... Sorry, I got distracted. Is that the Republican Party will be choosing Donald Trump in the Civil War for the Republican Party. I think it's interesting because Bruce Castor on day one alluded to republicanism, and he alluded to the greatest democracies that worked under republicanism of our time, or of ancient history, the Greeks and the Romans, falling because, often it's funny because the Republican Party draws its name from that belief system and that set of values, and that is why they are called that, interestingly enough. But it's funny because in the president's defense, in the former Republican president's defense, the Republican Party has decided to literally tear itself in half, leaving Donald Trump standing essentially on top of the rubble. And that is the very scary part of all this, because we will see probably at the end of all this, and we can hope it's not true, as Bruce Castor starts his arguments right now. Is Castor or Schroden? Either way, they both wear bad ties. But look at that. It's monstrosity. not the worst high I've seen, but I don't know. Anyway, not here for it. This is Mike Vanderveen. My man, Mike T. Vanderveen. Nobody's man, Mike T. Vanderveen. Anyway, get out of it, Vince. Back on track. What you're going to see by the end of this is that Republicans will find a way to show that either Trump is protected by the First Amendment, and that if we say he can't start an insurrection, then he is being untreated fairly, because any American should be allowed to start an insurrection, because that's what America is all about, baby. They're going to find their way out of it. They're going to find just the right amount of doubt to get out of having to convict and having to essentially bar Trump from running again, because that's what this is all about. This is all about keeping him from running again, and that's what Ted Lieu alluded to yesterday. I thought was the best argument made really by any of the managers, and I think I saw a tweet yesterday that said that it's one of the points that was made by the managers that really gripped Republicans was that Ted Lieu said he's not scared of Trump running in 2024 and winning again, because he doesn't think he will. And I agree with that take. I don't think Trump, having done all of this, and enough people are smarter than this. I think we've seen his broad approval drop. The Republican Party is siding with the loser in all of this. I think they'd be better to stick with and I'd hate to say that their core principles are any better than anybody else's, but at least it's not trying to overthrow the democratic system that we've been living under for 200-some years now. It's better than being the party of QAnon, but they're choosing to be the party of QAnon. But Ted Lieu made a good point whenever he said that he's not scared of Trump winning, he's scared of Trump losing, because we've seen what he can do when they lose, and who knows what happens next time. And hopefully next time they'll be more prepared, but they have a chance now to stop there from being a next time, essentially, and it's just a matter of them taking them up on it. So we'll see what this side has to say today, and they're starting now. That's why I'm a little sidetracked and trying to keep up with both, but can't do both. I'm not that skilled. Not that good. Huh? No, well, I'm about to finish up here because we're just going to talk about what Biden did yesterday. That's pretty important. So, people asked Biden leading up to impeachment whether he was going to be watching it or not. He said no, he had more important things to do, and it turns out that more important thing was securing enough coronavirus vaccine doses for every American adult by the end of July. So while all this was going on, and while we were rehashing the failures essentially, or you could argue also the greatest triumphs of the worst president of our time, but that is for history to decide, I guess. While all this was going on, Biden was working to get the one thing he really needed to get done to get America back on course done, and that is get vaccines and get enough vaccines for everybody. Because I can only tell you now, because I am sitting here waiting anxiously to get my appointment done with this evening, get my vaccine, how nice it feels to know that we will be at a place where we could be back to semi-normal, and I know masks will probably still need to be worn for a long time, but things will be open. We'll be able to go to things. We might be able to go to Mets baseball games this season. Like even before July, like even before the All-Star break, we might even be able to be in Citi Field. Like, how cool would that be? So with that in mind, all things are all right, you could say. But that was the one thing that Biden could really control, personally himself controlled, that Trump himself could have also controlled, was making sure there was enough doses of vaccine to go around. There was a story in the waning days of the Trump administration where Trump didn't buy enough vaccines. He had only bought so many vaccines to take care of the first wave of elderly people. And from there on, there was no more purchasing of doses. So Biden has had to go and spend the first 20 days, 30 days here of his presidency, or however long it's been, getting vaccines, buying vaccines, and he has now done that. And we are now going to be in a much better place in 3 months than we have been in a long, long time. So you got to feel good about that, and you got to feel good about what else is going on aside from what the inevitable verdict will be today here. So we shall see. Trump's team is playing a video here right now. It looks like it's just a bunch of Democrats making bold statements on a video. Biden's in it for some reason, so we'll see. It's going to be a topsy-turvy day, but we will see what happens. Anyway, enjoy it. Have a good weekend. We will be back with more and everything next week. Maybe we'll be talking about something good. Who knows? Anyway, we did today too, but maybe there'll be, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's happening. Everything's different. Everything's wild nowadays. More next week. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe to us. I had a good pod. I didn't stumble over anything. I did good.
Good pod.
Good pod. Anyway, have a good weekend.